guys, this is Cranetrain. So, finally getting to this video, but basically I'm going to show you what it is to make a table and bars with the sticky stuff on it. So really all it is tension bars in varying thickness and lengths. You can pick these up from Home Depot, pretty cheap I'm assuming, typically something you would see in like the storage section. They're about $10 a piece is what I paid for here in Japan, but they're probably a lot cheaper in America because that's where all the Walmarts and stuff are. And then all I bought, this is exactly what they use. I actually went and asked a arcade specifically, one of the workers in regards to this that I knew, what they use to wrap the bars. And all it is silicone tubing. Things that you would use for things like fish tanks or something along those lines. It kind of grips to itself, so plastics will stick to it, and so on and so forth. There is actually a difference in grippiness between the color too, and I don't know if this is because of how it's made or because of the coloration of it. But if you look very closely at the actual plastic, I don't know if my camera is going to pick it up, but there's little striations along the line of the tubing, which gives it a little bit more grip, as opposed to this one where it is completely see-through. There's no striations, none of that. So it's actually a lot easier to try and move things, or doesn't stick to itself quite as much. And what I went ahead and did is I bought 3 large bars and 3 small bars. The reason I did this is because typically the most common setup for figures that I see is 2 bars at kind of like a V shape. But sometimes you'll see a third bar that's either placed underneath or something along those lines. So I figured getting an extra bar would be a good way to make sure I can cover a lot of the different configurations. And with 6 different bars in total, I needed to make sure that I also had enough tubing in different types to give you guys the best examples I possibly can. The plan in the future here is to be able to set up things in accordance with how they have them set up on Toreba, and use the figures and stuff that I already own as a way to show you how to win things, or what I would do to go about approaching it. Eventually down the line, I plan to purchase from like a Round 1 back in the States, or a Sega arcade, a actual crane game, and that way I can show you guys all the different configurations. I can try and set up as closely to the same setup as Toreba is using, and some of the other online cranes. Things like DC7 and so on and so forth. But anyways, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and cut this. What I went ahead and did is bought 3 meters of each type of tubing. That way I can cut to fit each type of tube. I'd say these are about 1 meter for the most part in length. So as you can see here, if I go from tip to there, then I can mark it. And I'm just using an X-Acto knife. I could go grab scissors, and I may grab scissors just to make this simpler. Mainly did this because after a certain point, I'm going to be splitting the tubing down the middle, so that way it can wrap around the bars. There we go. So 1 length. So now I'm going to cut down the length of it, so that way it can get wrapped around the bar itself. The safest way to do this would obviously be to cut along this way, but because I'm trying to get it so that it stays on the bar as best as I can, I am going to go with the curve of the tubing as it already exists, which, be careful if you are going to attempt to do this for your own home setup or anything. Now, it doesn't need to be perfect. You just want to try and make sure you get as straight as you can. Whew. Also be careful cutting towards yourself. I'm holding the tubing with the 2 fingers to make sure I don't hurt myself. Once you get it started, it's pretty easy to get it cut. And now we're gonna go ahead and get one of these out and see how it looks. Move that out of the way. And another thought you can also do to, if your tubing is a little bit too big or any of that kind of thing, you can also use a heat gun to shrink it or mold it around the bar itself. Just some helpful advice. Heat guns are pretty cheap. You can buy them from Walmart or Home Depot for a pretty inexpensive amount. And I need this side to extend. Alrighty. So as you can see, it's a little bit bigger than the bar. This is why I actually got 2 different widths of tubing just in case. But I'll be able to use a heat gun to make this mesh a little bit better. I can also kind of have the plastic kind of wrap around it a little bit more, or I could even cut off a little excess, and that should also help. So, but first tube, basically done. A few minor things to adjust on it. And then obviously I'll be doing the same with the pink. I'll go ahead and record that in just a second. The next thing I really wanted to discuss with you guys is that can that everyone saw a picture of and a video of someone spraying into a cloth and wiping onto the tubing itself. What it is it's parts cleaner. I actually showed the picture of the can to a customer service rep at the Home Depot place here in Japan. They said this is pretty much the same thing. It's just a different brand, so you know, big pink can. I don't know what I'm going to do with this afterwards, but it's probably going in the trash since I won't be able to ship it with me. Basically, this is used to clean metal parts. What it does is it dries out the grease and makes it easier to wipe clean. What that can do, number one, is if they do spray glue onto the tubing, it can remove the glue because it'll get rid of the adhesiveness. Another thing that it does is when it's sprayed onto anything that doesn't already have glue on it, it may actually make it stickier. And the reason why this is because it's drying out the silicone and sucking all the moisture out of it, making it grip even more to plastic items. So, but I do want you guys to be able to see just what happens when I spray this. I'm gonna cut away real quick so that way I can go grab number one, scissors, and number two, some paper towels. So I'm back. I went ahead and grabbed some scissors, some paper towels, and some wipes. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna pop the top off of this can, put on the attachment. Make sure you're pointing it away from yourself when you're putting it on, because it's probably gonna spritz. Alrighty, so very strong chemical smell, not unlike what I was expecting. Alright, so we'll move all this tubing out of the way. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the exact same thing that that girl was doing in the video. I am going to take some paper towels, fold them over. We're gonna spray it. And I am going to wipe the bar. And then afterwards, I will be able to tell you if the bar seems more sticky before or after, and I can actually compare. sure to be careful if you're doing this at home, guys. You can pick up parts cleaner from any Walmart, Home Depot, AutoZone, any of those places back in the States. So just ask for parts cleaner or brakes cleaner. Alrighty, so I've gone ahead and wiped it down. Give it a second to dry here. Alright, so to be honest, I'm not sensing much more stickiness. It is definitely drier, I can feel that. It's not quite as smooth, so it may be a little bit more grippy than previously, but I wouldn't say it's a huge difference. So everyone that was freaking out about the girl wiping the bar with that stuff, relax, it was not a huge factor. I will say it probably has more of a factor on rubber or silicone or plastic against the same material, but I don't think it's going to be the end of the world or a huge deciding factor. Nothing that a properly powered claw arm shouldn't be able to manage. That being said, Toreba's claw arms have been a little bit lacking in strength lately, so overall I would say it just made it cleaner. So not a huge difference in grip. So one bar down, and I will go ahead and do the rest of them. I'm going to speed up this process since it should be the same for all of them by just cutting away to the finished product. Gonna take a picture at the end, show you guys how it looks. I will start posting videos once I get back stateside after my move of things to help you guys with trying to play these Toreba configurations. So I will see you guys soon. Stay tuned for more videos. I'm going to attempt to try and pump out more material as I am in transit back to the States, trying to pack my computer tower with me so that way I don't have to worry about it getting damaged or being without it for like 2 months. So I will see you guys next time. Like, share, subscribe. And if any of you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them while I have this available for a few days before I get everything packed away.